Last week I went to two press conferences on human trafficking, one in Elk Grove, one in Sacramento. And the motto for both press conferences were, not in my city, not in my state. And last week the state Senate passed a resolution against human trafficking. Human trafficking is a big issue. In 2014, the operating system on cell phones changed to make it inaccessible to law enforcement. So unless the owner of that phone had the passcode, law enforcement couldn't even access it with a court order from a judge. As we know, human trafficking is a very vicious crime. As a former peace officer, I've arrested individuals for human trafficking. So you get a case, you got a pimp and the victim, he's making prostitute. And in this day and age, a lot of folks communicate by cell phone. So she can be up in a room with a customer, they're communicating back and forth, come down, I need you back down here, how much money? So a lot of information gets translated between those two phones. So when we make the arrest in that case, and we get both phones from the victim and the pimp, and you're trying to put your case together and corroborate the victim's testimony, the way the systems are set up right now, you cannot access that information, even with a court order by a judge. And that's one of the big issues with that. And this bill that we introduced today hopes to change that. And it's really so important. As we know, Sacramento is #1 in human trafficking in the country, #1 in arrest. And the reason that is, we take it very seriously here. And with the FBI, the police department, the sheriff's department, and DOJ, we're very proactive on it. That's why you see such a large number of arrests. So being here in our hometown and the large number of arrests and the impact human trafficking has on individuals, it's so important. Half the victims are children. Half the victims are children, young boys and young girls and adult women. It's a very vicious crime. These folks prey on these women and children. They're beaten up, they're drugged. It's horrific to be treated like this. And now law enforcement has changed where they're treating these victims as they are because they're forced into this life. So it's very important to have this case. And really the big thing about this is it's not the boogeyman, it's not NSA, it's not Edward Snowden. 99% of the public will never have their phone searched with a court order. We're talking folks that are involved in human trafficking. It is an issue right now. Our daughters, our sons, our wives, our sisters, our mothers are being forced into this worldwide. So hopefully with this legislation we can do something about it and really take it back and put the responsibility on the tech industry. That's what it comes down to, people over profits. That is so important right now, and we see it every day. And I think it's uplifting. This bill is started here in Sacramento, where we're ground zero for human trafficking.
Every single girl that has come to Courage House has been trafficked via a smartphone on Backpage. We have had 2 of our girls testify against their trafficker. And it's very hard to explain what it takes for a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old to take the stand and to repeat the horrific acts that have been done to them. That would just be if she was a healthy 12 or 14-year-old. And our kids have all been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and a myriad of other mental health issues because of the crimes that have been committed against them. The crimes are placed in the girl's hand via that phone. He makes her take her own pictures. He makes her post her own photos. So if he gets caught, the act will be on her, the crime will be on her. He uses that threat to keep her in line that she is going to be put in jail. The phone holds the evidence to her abuse. The phone holds the evidence of her being sold as a commodity. And if our law enforcement partners, if our law enforcement teams have that evidence, then maybe, just maybe, we don't have to put her on the stand. Maybe they won't need her testimony if they have the evidence that's in that phone.
I was trafficked from San Francisco to Tokyo and sold to organized crime figures there. And during my time under their control, I suffered death threats, physical and sexual abuse, rape, psychological torture. And so I can say that I know, I have experienced firsthand the brutality and the cruelty and the trauma that my colleagues here at this press conference have already mentioned. And as an advocate for victims and survivors, I can say that this is it's ongoing, and every victim has the incredible stress and trauma of having to testify against their traffickers. Some are unable to do so. This bill is so important because it can give law enforcement and prosecutors access to valuable evidence that will help to corroborate the victim's statements and can also be used as primary evidence in the case.
So when do we say enough is enough? It is a real crime, and it affects our people, our women, our children. It is not right. So I challenge you to pass this. It's a judge's order, a neutral third party that issues this. It is not Edward Snowden. It is not NSA. It is not the boogeyman. So 99% of the public will never have it dealt with. I don't even care if the companies do it themselves. But the bottom line, there has to be a pathway to stop this type of crime and violence. It has gone on far too long, across our nation, across the world. So let's do something about it today, and thank everybody for coming here. I really appreciate it, and hopefully by being here and standing strong and sharing your stories with us, we can make a difference.